Have you ever been greeted with a cold stare or sharp words while traveling in Turkey? Is it rudeness or something deeper within the culture? It's a question that many travelers ask when they find themselves face to face with a stereotype about Turkish people. The notion of Turkish people being rude and arrogant has been floating around for decades, even centuries. It's a perception that seems to linger, fueled by personal experiences, media portrayals, and cultural misunderstandings. But is it fair to label an entire nation this way? Or is there more beneath the surface that explains this seemingly harsh behavior? Join us as we explore the cultural complexities and historical context behind this stereotype. In Turkey, there is a saying that reflects a key cultural value: a guest is a gift from God. This phrase highlights the country's long-standing tradition of hospitality, which may seem surprising to those who interpret certain interactions as rude. In fact, Turks do not view directness or bluntness as rudeness. Rather, they consider it a sign of honesty and respect. However, for those unfamiliar with this approach, what seems like confrontation may be simply an expression of transparency and a desire for genuine communication. This difference in cultural norms often leads to misunderstandings, where well-meaning honesty is misinterpreted by outsiders as arrogance or hostility. Many tourists perceive Turks as rude or arrogant, often due to the contrast between Western cultural norms and Turkish customs. While Western communication tends to be polite and indirect, Turkey values directness and efficiency. What might seem rude to foreigners is often just an attempt to be clear and honest. Additionally, tourists' expectations of politeness based on their own cultural norms can lead to discomfort when those expectations aren't met. For example, the Turkish tradition of offering more food than one can eat is a sign of respect, but may feel overwhelming or intrusive to visitors unfamiliar with the practice. In fact, a study conducted by the World Values Survey found that 61% of Turkish people reported that they preferred direct communication, even if it comes across as blunt, compared to only 45% in Western Europe. This cultural preference for straightforwardness can sometimes be perceived as arrogance, especially by those who are more accustomed to indirectness or politeness. The idea of saving face is deeply embedded in Turkish culture. However, this doesn't mean that Turks are indifferent to the feelings of others. Rather, it's a matter of cultural priority, clarity and directness over subtlety. To truly understand why Turkish people behave the way they do, we need to look at the cultural values that shape their interactions. The importance of family, community, and personal dignity plays a big role in shaping the Turkish way of communicating. In Turkey, preserving face or honor is crucial. This means that an individual's reputation and honor are central to how they interact with the world. If someone feels disrespected or insulted, it's not uncommon for them to react sharply or assertively. This is particularly true when dealing with outsiders or foreign visitors, who might unintentionally challenge cultural norms or personal values. What seems like arrogance is often an act of defending one's dignity. However, Turkey's history offers important context for understanding this perception. For centuries, Turkey has been a crossroads of empires and civilizations, from the Byzantine Empire to the Ottoman Empire. This long history of dominance, survival, and pride deeply shapes the national identity. The Ottoman Empire, once one of the most powerful in the world, ruled over 32 million people across vast territories. This legacy instills pride in modern Turks, but sometimes this pride is misinterpreted as arrogance. In fact, according to a 2017 survey by the Turkish Statistical Institute, over 70% of the Turkish population expressed pride in their country's resilience and ability to overcome challenges throughout its modern history. This deep sense of pride and self-respect plays a large part in the way Turks interact with the outside world. Their assertiveness can sometimes be mistaken for arrogance, but it's really a reflection of their collective history of overcoming adversity and shaping a modern nation from the ashes of an empire. Another important factor to consider is the Turkish language itself. The Turkish language is rich in formality and structure, with distinct levels of politeness depending on the social hierarchy and relationship between individuals.
Do you have any country you don't like?
No, I don't. I like all of people, but can find bad person, can find good person. This is important.
In Turkey, how you address someone, whether it's with formal or informal terms, depends on factors like age, social status, or familiarity. For instance, using formal language with a stranger or someone older is a sign of respect. However, if someone uses informal language or a direct approach without the customary polite forms, it can be perceived as rude, even if no disrespect is intended. This can make interactions seem curt or impolite, especially to those who are unfamiliar with the linguistic nuances of the culture. In addition to the language, regional differences play a significant role in shaping how Turks interact with others. Urban centers like Istanbul or Ankara tend to be more cosmopolitan and accustomed to dealing with foreign visitors. In these areas, you might find people who are more tolerant of cultural differences and more likely to accommodate tourists. But in rural areas, where traditional values are more prevalent, people might be more direct and less inclined to cater to outsiders. This is not out of hostility, but rather a reflection of the culture's emphasis on directness, personal space, and self-respect. A 2018 survey by Gallup International found that around 65% of urban Turks feel more open to interacting with foreigners than those in rural areas, where that number dropped to just 40%. This contrast reflects the influence of globalization and urbanization on the cultural norms of different regions in Turkey. The more urbanized areas tend to be more accustomed to diverse cultural influences and more likely to accommodate foreigners, whereas rural areas maintain a more insular, traditional approach to social interactions. It's also worth mentioning that Turkey's geopolitical position as a bridge between East and West has created a unique cultural blend. Turkish people are often caught between conflicting expectations, balancing the traditions of the East with the influences of the West. This can result in cultural friction, especially when interacting with people from different backgrounds. For example, Turks might be perceived as rude by Europeans due to their more direct style of communication, while Westerners might come off as overly polite and distant to the Turkish.
Here, don't speak English yet.
Where's your passport? Where's your passport?
Turkey was a bit more expensive.
This cultural clash often contributes to misunderstandings. However, we must also acknowledge that there are differences in the behavior of individual Turks. Not every Turkish person fits this stereotype of arrogance or rudeness. In fact, many people in Turkey are warm, friendly, and eager to share their culture with visitors. It's important to recognize that every culture is made up of diverse individuals, each with their own experiences and ways of interacting with the world. Subscribe to Truth Revealed to stay intrigued and informed.